Rescue efforts in Nepal are intensifying after more than 1,800 people were killed in the country's worst earthquake in more than 80 years. Many countries and international charities have offered aid to Nepal to deal with the disaster. 17 people have been killed on Mount Everest by avalanches, the mountain's worst ever disaster. Officials fear that the death toll could rise as the desperate search for survivors continues. Scores of bodies have been ferried to hospitals in Kathmandu, many of which are struggling to cope with the number of injured. Nearly 1,000 are known to have died in the powerful earthquake in Nepal, with many more feared trapped under rubble, officials say. The 7.8 magnitude quake struck an area between the capital, Kathmandu, and the city of Pokhara, the U.S. Geological Survey said. Tremors were felt across the region, with further loss of life in India, Bangladesh, Tibet and on Mount Everest. The government has declared a state of emergency in the affected areas. A national police spokesman told the BBC that 970 people had died in the quake, and that more than 1,700 had been injured. At least 539 people were killed in the Kathmandu Valley, he added. Nepali Information Minister Minendra Rai said there had been massive damage at the epicenter, from where little information is emerging. Rescuers are digging through the rubble of collapsed buildings in the capital trying to reach survivors, as thousands prepare to spend the night outside as darkness fell. A number of historic buildings have been destroyed. Among those wrecked was the landmark Dara Tower, with many feared trapped in its ruins. After the earthquake struck, frightened residents came out into the streets. Mobile phones and other communications have been disrupted. Major historic monuments in the Nepalese capital have been destroyed in the powerful earthquake, eyewitnesses and officials have said. These include a 9-story tower, temples and some parts of what was once a royal palace, all listed as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Pictures posted on social media show some of the monuments have been reduced to rubble. Eyewitnesses say several others now have cracks and could collapse. Officials have said some temples and the monuments at other World Heritage Sites near Kathmandu have also been damaged. These sites are Nepal's major tourist attractions. Nepal had lost several such monuments during a major earthquake in 1934. There are also reports of damage to Kathmandu airport which could hamper relief operations. With little known about the extent of the damage around the earthquake's epicenter, there are fears the death toll could rise. Aftershocks continued to ripple through the region hours later. The quake triggered an avalanche on Mount Everest, killing at least 8 people, and another 5 in Tibet, officials and reports say. Running for life from my tent. Unhurt. Many people up the mountain, tweeted mountaineer Alex Gavan. At least 35 people have been killed in India, Indian officials say, with 1 death also reported in Bangladesh. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has met his ministers to review the situation. Pakistan's Prime Minister, Nawaz Sharif, has pledged help for the Nepalese authorities. It is the worst earthquake to strike Nepal since one in 1930 for all but.
Fresh tremors were felt today across North and East India, a day after a quake devastated Nepal and affected parts of India. The aftershocks measured 6.7 in the Richter scale according to United States Geological Survey. The epicenter was Kodari, around 80 kilometers east of Kathmandu. Apart from Delhi, tremors were also felt in Lucknow and in Bihar, where 35 people died in yesterday's quake. The tremors went on for several minutes. In Delhi, metro services were stopped for a few minutes after the tremors were felt. Yesterday's earthquake, which measured 7.9 on Richter scale, killed more than 1,900 people in Nepal and 53 in India and led to widespread devastation. Thousands of people were displaced in Nepal, roads developed huge cracks, old buildings were flattened. The aftershocks remained mild, but panic-stricken people spent the night under the open sky. Saturday's earthquake, the worst to hit the Himalayan country in 80 years, also triggered a deadly avalanche that buried a part of the base camp for climbers bound for Mount Everest. 17 bodies have been recovered so far, 61 people have been injured.